Welcome. This public hearing is now open. It is 3 p.m. My name is Andrea Kleisik. I am the Assistant Director of the Niagara County Industrial Development Agency, and I have been designated by the agency to be the hearing officer to conduct this public hearing. I will now read the notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing pursuant to Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended and Section 859A of Title I of Article 18A of the General Municipal of the State of New York as amended in Chapter 569 of the Laws of 1972 of the State of New York will be held by the Niagara County Industrial Development Agency on Wednesday, November 30th at 3 p.m. local time at Niagara Falls City Hall, Room 117. 745 Main Street, Niagara Falls, New York, 14301, in connection with this matter described below. OAHS Niagara Towers TC LLC, a New York limited liability company, for itself or an entity formed or to be formed, has requested that the agency issue its tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bonds in maximum stated principal amount not to exceed $22 million in one or more series as part of a plan of finance for the purpose of assisting with a certain project consisting of acquisition of a leasehold interest in approximately 2.56 acre parcel of land located at 821 Cedar Avenue and 901 Cedar Avenue in the city of Niagara Falls, Niagara County, New York, 14301. This property also identified as tax parcel numbers 144.78-2-48 and 144.78-3-2.2, together with the existing property, 144,300 square feet, 18-story, 200-unit senior affordable housing complex. Thereon, the renovation, refurbishment, and upgrading of the existing improvements, upgrades to electrical equipment, updates to all major systems, including elevators and heating systems, and improvements to various site features, the acquisition and installation in and around the improvements of certain items of machinery, equipment, furniture, fixtures, and other incidental tangible personal property, the payment of all or portion of the cost of issuing the bonds, credit enhancement fees relating to the bonds, if any, funding a debt service reserve, if any, and capitalized interest, if any, and the retention of the issuer of a leasehold or other interest in the facility and the lease or sale of the issuer's interest in the facility back to the company pursuant to an agreement which shall require the company to make payments sufficient to fund the debt service payments on the bonds and make certain other payments. All of the facilities financed and or refinanced with bonds are or will be owned and or operated by the company and are or will be located at 821 Cedar Avenue and 901 Cedar Avenue in the city of Niagara Falls, Niagara County, New York, 14301. The project facility will be owned and operated and managed by the company. The bonds will be a special obligation of the agency payable solely from rental payments made by the company to the agency pursuant to a lease or other agreement and certain other assets of the company pledged to the repayment of the bonds. The agency is contemplating providing financial assistance to the company with respect to the project in the form of interest savings through the issuance of the bonds and mortgage recording tax exemption relating to financings undertaken in furtherance of the project, including the agency's issuance of the bonds. If the issuance of such bonds is approved by the agency, it is intended that the interest on such bonds will be excluded from gross income for federal income tax purposes pursuant to Section 103A of the Code. The company shall make payments sufficient to fund debt service on the bonds and make payments, certain other payments, and the bonds will be special limited obligations of the agency payable solely from certain of the proceeds of the agreement and certain other assets of the agency pledged to be to the repayment of the bonds. It is intended that the bonds will be issued as exempt facility bonds for qualified residential rental project pursuant to section 142A7 of the code. Under the code, approval of the issuance of the bonds by the Niagara County Legislature is necessary under section 147F of the code in order for the interest on the bonds to be excluded from the gross income for revenue income tax purposes. The bonds shall not be a debt of the state of New York or any political subdivision thereof, including Niagara County, and neither the state of New York nor political subdivision thereof, including Niagara County, shall be liable thereon. Minutes of the public hearing will be made available to the Niagara County Legislature. Approval of the issuance of the bonds by the Niagara County Legislature is necessary in order for the interest of the bonds to be excluded from gross income for federal income tax purposes. In accordance with Section 859-A of the Act, a representative of the agency will be at the above stated time and place to present a copy of the company's project application, including a cost-benefit analysis, which is also available for viewing on the agency's website at niagaracountybusiness.com. The agency will live stream the public hearing at www.facebook.com/PG/NCCED/posts, and the agency encourages all interested parties to submit written comments to the agency, which will all be included with the public hearing record, which can be submitted by mail to Susan Langdon, Executive Director, Niagara County Industrial Development Agency at 6311 Indicon Corporate Drive, Suite 1, Sanborn, New York, 14132, or by email to susan.langdon@niagaracounty.com. Are there any comments to be made at this public hearing? Hearing no comments, we will now close this public hearing. It is 3:06 p.m.